Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me today. It's Allan Laboucan with the Rocks and Stocks News Show. I got another of my in the news shows for you today, and it's quite a flurry of news. As I talked about on my weekend show just yesterday, this tomorrow is the Beaver Creek Mining Conference, and this is one of the big ones. This is quite a conference and one of the best in the world, and there's a lot of companies there. Yesterday, I talked about all my picks that will be there with some other topics as well. But today, um, there was just a flurry of news, and so I wanted to talk about that. There was several companies that had really good news out, so I'm going to talk about that. But before I do, I wanted to talk about gold. As you can see, gold has made a significant breakout. I had talked a lot about this basing period, especially when it got really tight against the 50-day moving average, and that I was looking for a breakout, and that would take it into new record highs. We've got that breakout just recently over the last, let's say, 10 days or so. And I think this is going to have a very good performance in gold for the rest of this year and, of course, into next year because I think this is a very long bull market. But before I get into that, I also want to talk about the US dollar. And as you can see, it's been basing in a downward bear market, and it went sideways for a while. But I think now it's time for it to break down below the 50-day moving average and perform something like this. As you can see on the way down here, it traded below the 50-day moving average from basically all of February, March, April, May, June, and for most or for all of July. At the end of July, it had a rally above. Now, why I'm making this argument now is that it's becoming clear since the meeting at Jackson Hole, Wyoming, that the Fed is going to cut interest rates. And when they're cutting interest rates, that puts pressure on the US dollar. So that's one indicator. But then you kind of got to see, well, they're not meeting for another week or so. And is that going to fluctuate? Well, around this time last year, the BLS did a 1 year revision of the employment numbers, and they had to revise 800 over 800,000 jobs away. And this is evidence of what I keep on saying is that the BLS overstates the actual jobs that are being created. Uh, every month, they seem to revise downward. And that last one last year around this time was a real blockbuster. And you know, these just keep on these revisions just keep on reinforcing that the federal or the BLS continuously overstates the jobs market. And so there's one coming up tomorrow, and I think it could create a lot of fireworks and will um, reinforce that the Federal Reserve is going to cut interest rates because they have a dual mandate. One is to for full employment, the other is for um, price stability. And so they are in a tough situation because they either have to support the jobs and the economy or support protect against inflation. And they are in a tough situation because we have stagflation. It's not talked about a lot because it's only about 1% in the government numbers, real world, probably more than that. But in the government statistics, it's only about 1% or 1.5% currently. And so it doesn't get talked a lot about. But if the jobs market is indicating what I think is happening, is the economy is moving closer to a recession. Whether it actually dips there or not, we'll see. Um, we'll have to see more data as it comes out. I'm data dependent, like the Fed. And so we need to see that happen. But the jobs market is definitely telling us that the jobs market is in free fall, and that the economy will do the same. And so uh, this 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 revision a yearly revision is going to be quite important tomorrow, and I think it's going to shock people. And so therefore that will give the Federal Reserve the cover that they need to cut interest rates. Now, sentiment is that it'll only be 1/4% but I think even trying to do 1/4% here and 1/4% there isn't going to do anything to what's happening with the jobs market. But nobody seems to think that there would be a 50% cut. Now, what will probably keep it from a 50% cut is at the remainder of the week, we have some key inflation numbers that will come up. And this is the dichotomy that the Fed, this solidifies or gives you an indication of the dichotomy that the Federal Reserve has right now. Yes, the jobs market is stalling, and likely the economy is stalling as well, because where jobs go, so goes the economy. But inflation, if they throw inflation under the bus and they cut interest rates, inflation that is already trending upwards again likely goes well past 3% and maybe even towards 4%. According to the government numbers, I believe that they understate the actual inflation, but that's for another show. And so this week is going to create more consternation with the Federal Reserve because they're going to get the data that is going to, one, give them the cover to cut interest rates, but secondly, it's going to give them concern because inflation is not cooperating. They've been trying to fight inflation and they're not doing a very good job of it. And I believe ultimately what's going to happen is that stagflation is going to get into 3% or more, which will catch everybody's attention. Right now, the 1 to 1.5 is something that only geeks like me talk about, but I think that there's bigger problems coming. And the weakness in the US dollar, which I think it's going to take another strong leg downward, similar to what we saw earlier in the year, um, is also inflationary because the US economy depends a lot on imports. Well, if the US dollar is going down, the cost of what they import is going up. And that is not transitory and it gets passed on to the consumers just like the tariff tax does and is starting to show that, a lot of companies were able to front run the tariffs, but now that's worked its way out of the economy, and now it will those tariff taxes will start to really impact the inflation because those prices, you can bet your bottom dollar that those prices are going to be absorbed by corporations and by consumers. And so there's a lot of inflationary stuff that I think is why I'm making the argument that the government statistics will start showing it going towards 3 to 4% very quickly. So, a lot of good things for stagflation is very good for the price of gold and the price of silver. Weaker US dollar is very good for the price of gold, silver, and other commodities. And I think this is where investors want to be if they want to protect their purchasing power and their wealth. And the market tells you what's happening, and you either prepare for it or you don't. Let's have a quick look at silver. Silver's made a spectacular breakout. I talked about it back here when it was trending right around 35, and I predicted that it would go through 35, then move towards over 40, which it's done now. I think it's on its path to 50 before the end of this year, and then on to a series of record highs that is similar to what we've seen in 2025, and all of 2024 was a series of record highs in the price of gold. Once silver goes over 50, I think it will do a similar thing where it creates a series of record highs. So these are all very bullish for gold and silver. And I've got a bunch of those kind of companies to talk about. So let me get into it now. One of those is Goliath Resources. Goliath is my highest conviction uh, gold explorer with an important discovery pick. And they had a great news release out there earlier today. Goliath intercepts 18.58 grams per ton of gold over 5 meters. And that's from the Sherbet discovery, the gold digger property, with 90% of the holes contain visible gold. You're going to see in this map shortly why that's so important. They talk about 100% of the drill holes completed to date have intersected substantial mineralization. 90% of them had gold visible with the naked eye. That's VGNE. Drilling at Sherbet has hit VGNE in three distinct rock packages: quartz sulfide, breccia stockwork, and RIG Eocene age dikes, and calc-silicate altered breccia, showing the untapped discovery potential at this remarkable high-grade gold system that remains open. Now, when you see gold getting into three distinct rock packages, that's suggestive of a very powerful gold mineralizing system. So the system that brings gold up into these three rock packages is very powerful, and it had gone on for a long period of time to get the gold, the visible gold, up into those three distinct rock packages. They give you a summary here of the amount of drilling that's been done, and they talk about the incredible amount of holes that have hit high gram meter intersections. So this is when you multiply the grade times the thickness of the intersection. The rule of thumb is anywhere between 70 and 100 is very good. And that's indicative of when you get up into that category consistently, that's what you see in mines. Okay. So nine of the holes delivered over 200 gram meter intersections. One was 1,346 gram meter intersection. 11 holes are greater than 150 gram meters. 25 holes are greater than 100 gram meters. 32 holes are greater than 75 gram meters. And 62 holes are greater than 50 gram meters. And this map kind of gives you a representation of where all that's coming from. All of these red dots, and you can see just the massive amount of them, are locations in the drill holes where they observed visible gold. And as you can see, this is a 500-meter intersection or table scale. And so there is visible gold way over here, although there's much less drilling. But even if you take from here to here, you're still looking at over 1,000 meters. And if you kind of go side to side, you're looking at probably about 800 meters. And then there's just a vast amount of visible gold. This really tells me a lot about this system. When you see that much visible gold in a system, it's quite rare. You don't see this very often. And that is indicative of a world-class discovery. They give you some dimensions as to how big it is. And Sherbet has widespread drill holes representing 400 pierce points over an 1.8 kilometer or greater than half the size of Central Park in New York City. That just gives you some idea. I know that I'm pretty sure that Central Park is about 12 miles long. So this is over half that size with visible gold all over the place. And it returned high metal factor, showing its potential to be one of the most important high-grade gold discoveries in the Golden Triangle since the Eskay Creek discovery. And you make those kind of comments when you see all of this visible gold. Okay. Then they give you some statistics here from the holes, 18.5 grams per ton of gold over 5 meters. Included in that was 23.22 grams of gold over 4 meters, including 30.95 grams per ton or 1 ounce of gold over 3 meters. Nice intersections for that kind of high grade gold. Multiple occurrences of visible gold were identified within quartz veins containing substantial amounts of sulfides. You can look at the names there in the news release. So here they show you some of the visible gold. And you notice it's not just one occurrence of visible gold, it's multiple occurrences of visible gold. Another hole, drill hole 355, intersected 5.72 grams per ton of gold over 12 meters, including 12.92 grams per ton of gold over 5.2 meters. Included in that was 20.29 grams of gold over 3.2 meters. And here again, they show you occurrences of visible gold. Hole 345 had another good run of high grade gold in it. And then they give you 317, 321, 362, 313, all having very high grades in the various intersections. High-grade gold has been identified in three distinct rock packages. This includes the gently dipping, gold-rich stacked. So there's a series of stacked veins that are like layers in a cake, if you will. The gold-rich, intermediate, felsic, Eocene age reduced intrusive related dikes. These are dikes that are vertical. Okay, so you've got the stacked like layers of a cake, and then coming up vertically through them are these RIRG dikes. And recently they discovered a broad gold-rich zone of altered breccia. So this is another rock package, all of which contain substantial amounts of visible gold and remain wide open for expansion. This confirms the presence of a mother lode magmatic source at depth, a causative intrusion responsible for the extensive high-grade gold system at Sherbet. Again, I'll re-emphasize that when you get visible gold in three distinct rock packages, this suggests a very powerful gold mineralizing system that was active over a long period of time. So then they give you details about the 2025 drill program, 60,000 meters. I think they're getting close. And now here's a great example of the stacked veins at the Sherbet discovery. So these are your layers of the cake. And then coming up through these are your reduced intrusion related dikes. Okay. Uh, this gives you a long section of various different hits. I'll go to the quote by Roger Rosmus because this sort of wraps it up nicely. Roger Rosmus is the founder and CEO of Goliath. He stated, and I quote, I'm very pleased we continue to deliver high-grade gold results over mineable widths that increases the confidence level, demonstrating Sherbet's predictable continuity. the exceptional project management and team of geologists, drillers, pilots, and all support staff are doing a tremendous job of completing the 60,000 meter drill program in the 2025 drilling season. We are within a few weeks of reaching the end of the drilling campaign. After drilling camp is completed, our season will last approximately an extra month of logging and then shipping samples for assaying. To date, we have only reported 14 holes of the planned up to 115 drill hole program. It's likely that we will have a steady flow of assays to report for the remainder of 2025 and into 2026. The team is very motivated and enthusiastic, as several of them have never worked on such a remarkable high-grade gold discovery as Sherbet. Many of our geological team have not seen as much widespread visible gold to the naked eye in almost every hole during their entire careers at our grassroots discovery. We are delighted with the progress our team has had and being able to do it safely and effectively, as well as host site visits with strategic investors. We wholeheartedly believe that the Sherbet discovery is emerging as the most important grassroots, high grade gold discovery in the Golden Triangle since Eskay Creek. To think that only a few years ago, Sherbet was hidden by receding glaciers in a short period of time has grown from a mineralized showing into a large high grade gold discovery, which is a testament to the fantastic work of our entire team and astonishing geological endowment. I look forward to my fully booked roster of meetings, 90 plus this week, with strategics and institutions alike at the Precious Metals Summit in Beaver Creek, Colorado, as well as the Denver Mineral Exploration Symposium in Golden, Colorado, held at the Colorado School of Mines. End quote. So a lot of great information in there. It sort of wraps up that the team is doing a fantastic job. It's no small feat to drill 60,000 meters in a few months of the season in the Golden Triangle, and they have completed a team work, and the quality of the project just gets better and better with more drilling. They're going to have a lot of assay results out for the next several months. The team is just blown away by. I saw a video where they had a fireworks display at the camp when they went over 50,000 meters. So, this is a really exciting place for them to work. They're seeing a tremendous amount of visible gold when they're logging the core. They're becoming a bit spoiled because most geologists are never see this much visible gold as seen at the Sherbet discovery throughout their entire careers. And it's emerging as a tremendously important discovery in the Golden Triangle. So let's take a look at their stock chart. And as you can see, as they've been drilling, they've been firming up the stock price. And now it's had a significant breakout today. It was up 12.07% or 28 cents a share to $2.60. I would point out the trajectory of the 200-day moving average and the 50-day moving average are very bullish. And with all of these drill results pending, they'll have just a lot to report for several months into the year. And we never know, keep our fingers crossed. They could hit it out of the park with any of those drill holes or more than one. So I'm very excited about the work that they've done and the flow of news that's coming out. So take a look at Goliath Resources. All right. Next up is Southern Cross Gold. Southern Cross extends high grades to east and to depth at Apollo East. Apollo East and their project is in Australia, not very far from one of the greatest orogenic gold systems in the world, which is the Fosterville mine. And they're in the same kind of rocks and the same kind of structural story. They're finding what's most important, which is high grade gold. So here is some of the drill holes, 3.1 meters at 41.8 grams of gold equivalent, 10.8 meters at 12.8 grams, zero point 0.2 meter of 540 grams per ton gold equivalent. They talk about major extension achievement, mineralization extended 75 meters east and 115 meters down dip beyond previous drilling, significantly expanding the exploration target. Strategic antimony bonus. We're hearing more about antimony these days, and they got the highest antimony grade was 33.7% at Apollo, which reinforces Sunday Creek's position as a significant Western project for this defense critical mineral. A lot of this antimony is controlled by China, and the Western world is looking for sources of antimony, and this is spectacular grades of it. Depth potential proven, multiple plus 100 gram per ton gold intersections at depth exceeding 1,000 meter confirm the system's continuity and continued improvement to depth. Michael Hudson is the president and CEO, and he stated, and I quote, SDDSC170A has delivered exactly what we hope to find. High-grade extensions at depth and along the eastern margins of the program beyond our previous drilling boundaries. The 75-meter eastward extension of Apollo East takes us into untested ground, while the 504 gram per ton gold and 33.7% antimony and confirmed the system maintains exceptional grades as we push deeper. In this case, 115 meters below previous drilling. What makes this particularly significant is the 10.8 meters at 12.6 grams per ton of gold mineralized envelope surrounding the high grade core. These broader common zones at Sunday Creek introduce potential for different mining methods. With 9 rigs turning and the system continuing both east and at depth, we have clear vectors to follow. Apollo East is shaping up as the next major prospect area at Sunday Creek, end quote. They give you more details here. Let me see. Here's a bunch of the drill results. Let me see if they got any maps attached to this. I'll just zoom through all of the forward-looking statements and everything. So here you can see, look at all the high-grade gold in this system of a series of stacked veins, one after another, and just a fantastic discovery. And I think this is going to take them to become a much larger company. Let's take a look at their stock chart. And I picked them up after they had bottomed out and were moving towards the 50-day moving average. Now, this company has only been trading since late 2023. And you can see that they've had a phenomenal performance because they have such a great discovery. But I want to zoom into this latest action over the last 4 or 5 months. And it's been uh, creating a perfect cup and handle formation. And the way it's performing and how much it's broken out above the 50-day moving average, I think it's going to be one of those right sides of a cup where it gets significantly above the left side of the cup, which is at about $7.10. And when they go well above the left side of the cup on the right side, usually the handle is very short, sometimes only a day or two, and then it's onwards and upwards from there. And that's why I picked them back here when they were at about five-ish, because I saw that they were heading towards breaking through the 50-day moving average. Now they've done that. I think you'll start to see the 50-day moving average curling up again, and this trading significantly above the 200-day. All of these are very bullish signs that I look for in a stock chart. Okay, another company that is a pick, all of these are picks, is Blackrock Silver. And they had an updated mineral resource estimate for their Tonopah West project. BlackRock announced the updated mineral resource for its 100% Tonopah West project in west central Nevada, right near the town of Tonopah. Tonopah is conveniently situated directly adjacent to the town of Tonopah. Highlights: updated mineral resource estimate contains a total of 21 million ounces of silver equivalent in the indicated category. I think I got that right. Yes. And another 86.88 million ounces of gold equivalent in the inferred mineral resource. So the combination there is well over the 100,000 or 100 million ounce threshold. This is important when you're looking at silver projects because the rule of thumb is that, that would give you 10 years of production at 10 million ounces per year. Now, of course, more work has to be done to see if that's feasible or not, but it's a very good rule of thumb to follow when you're looking at silver projects. Indicated mineralization were not previously included in the mineral resource estimate, so they upgraded this study was all about upgrading from completely inferred to now a significant amount in the indicated and still more in the and still a significant amount in the inferred. And so now what they're additionally doing is they're also working on another resource estimate that is expansion they drilled away from the known resource. This was in the known resource where they were upgrading and increasing. Now the next one will be all about increasing. I find this part very important. At a 100 grams per ton cutoff, the average block diluted grade of indicated mineral resources is 493 grams per ton silver equivalent, and average block diluted grade of the inferred mineralization is 525 grams. So when they put a cutoff grade, that is a ballpark estimate of what it would cost you to get the gold in the resource out. So when you see a big gap between the cutoff grade and the average grade, this is indicative of a very high margin project. All right. So then there's a quote in here from Andrew Pollard, who's the president and CEO of BlackRock. He stated, and I quote, as evidenced by the updated MRE, the company has delivered on its guidance for the M&I conversion program, delineating 1.33 million tons of indicated mineral resources while maintaining the high grade of 493 grams per ton silver equivalent within the shallowest portion of the Tonopah West deposit. The updated MRE shows the continuity of high grades within the tighter spaced drill pattern and is showing trends similar to those documented in the historic Victor and Ohio veins located to the east. This upgrade to the DPB South area gives the company added confidence to pursue the permits required, refine the engineering designs, and engage the talent for advancing the project to the next phase, which includes an exploration decline, test mining, and extracting a bulk sample. The company's current exploration program at Tonopah are focused on the expansion opportunities to the northwest and east. The results from the recently completed Northwestern expansion drilling programming and the current active Eastern expansion drilling program are intended to be incorporated into an updated mineral resource estimate and updated preliminary economic assessment of the Tonopah deposit plan for Q1 2026. So, as he states, or end quote, as he states there, they're doing expansion drilling, and that will all this resource and the expansion drilling will go into an updated mineral resource and an updated preliminary economic assessment in the Q1 of 2026. So a few months from now, they'll be able to incorporate all that information together. And uh, Also, I would highlight that he talks about this is the shallowest portion of the Tonopah West deposit. So easy to get at is what he's trying to say there. And then uh, they're now working to advance the project to create an exploration decline. So it's a tunnel into the underground and open up that underground and do extract a bulk sample in a test mining scenario. And that will give them even more confidence in their drill results. Because you got to remember, when you're drilling, you're estimating things based on a small diameter drill core. But when you take a bulk sample, you're taking tons and tons of rock and having that all assayed. So that's much more representative. And this is a high grade system. And often in high grade systems, when you do a bulk sample, you get an even bigger grade out of it because, again, you're not diluting or you're not sort of drilling with a small diameter hole. You can take big blocks of rock instead of little diameter holes. So, this is an excellent project. Anybody that's interested in silver development companies should be paying attention to Blackrock. Okay, now I'm going to go to their stock chart, and there it is. So as you can see, they've been moving up quite nicely as they've been doing this drilling and putting out news. And let's say it moved from around 30 cents all the way to over 80 cents. And as often happens, when a stock makes such a big move and there's news out, a lot of those that have significant gains will take some profits. But that is usually short-lived, and this company has a lot of news to keep coming out for several months into the future. And so this gives an opportunity to have a look at the company after it was down 10.53% or 8 cents a share to 68 cents a share. Again, this is a exceptionally high grade um, uh, silver development story. And when we got silver performing the way it is, and this also has a significant amount of gold in it as well. So as the gold and the silver prices get better, it only helps the quality of a project like this. Now, when generalist investors are coming in and starting to look for companies down the food chain, they don't have a lot of companies to look at for silver developers. And so these things all combined are why I think you should take a close look at Blackrock Silver right now. All right, Newfound Gold has had two releases. On the weekend show, I talked about this one where Newfound Gold and Maritime enter into a definitive agreement to combine, and a combination creates an emerging Canadian gold producer. So basically, what that tells you is Newfound Gold has the deposit and Maritime has the milling capacity. And so the combination of those two companies is a very good situation for Newfound. Now, today, earlier, they announced that Newfound Gold expands the Queensway Gold Project, enters into a property purchase agreement to acquire additional mineral claims. They got those from Exploits Discovery Corp, providing for the purchase by Newfound Gold of 100% interest in certain mineral claims in Newfoundland and Labrador by Exploits. The claims adjoin Newfound's Queensway Gold Project and would increase the size of the project by up to 33% to a total of 234,000 hectares. Keith Boyle, who's the CEO of Newfound, commented, and I quote, the acquisition of these additional highly prospective land holdings in and around Queensway is the next step in building a district scale land package in central Newfoundland. With this acquisition, Newfound Gold will control a key claim block immediately adjacent to the AFZ core, where we recently announced the results of a positive preliminary economic assessment. In addition, we will add a further 20 kilometers of strike extent along the main structures that control mineralization at Queensway. With a recently completed preliminary economic assessment, an exploration team with a proven track record of discovery, and a strong treasury, the company is well positioned to continue to advance Queensway, end quote. So they give you some details about the land package, but here you can see it better. So this is the Queensway Gold Project in the darker blue, and then the lighter blue with the crosshatch is the exploits ground that they're acquiring. This small block here is very interesting because it's in close proximity to some key discoveries that Newfound Gold has found not in the recent, let's say, the last year or so. So now they control all of this ground. It's just I've written about. I wrote a report a couple years ago where I talked about the possibility that um, this part of Newfoundland has a lot of similarities to the early days. Let's roll the clock back about 100, 120 years to the Abitibi region, which is one of the great mining districts of the world. And now these guys control basically everything. Well, practically everything, anyways. So Newfound Gold is doing a lot of great things since Keith Boyle, who is the new CEO, took over. They're acquiring mill capacity. They're acquiring additional ground. They're done a preliminary economic assessment. They're moving the project towards near-term production while also doing an extensive amounts of drilling. Let's have a look at their stock chart. I recently made them a pick in the reports because of all this good work that the new management is doing. I picked it before it went through this Golden Cross, and now it has made a Golden Cross just recently. And uh, just like not even a week ago, 5 days ago. And so they've got just a tremendous amount of results to report, and they've made a really significant turnaround. This turnaround happened right around when the new management took over and they started talking about preliminary economic assessments and the push to bring this project into near-term production. And so the market has been rewarding them for that. And I think with all the catalysts that they have upcoming for the foreseeable future, I can see a lot of good things for the valuation of this company as we move forward. Uh, Now, the next company I'm going to look at, if my computer will participate, is Northisle. Last week, I did an interview with their CEO, Sam Lee, and I'd invite you to go check that out. And then they came out with results today. Northisle reports additional results from 2025 drilling at the West Goodspeed at its North Island project. High-grade interval in GS 25-23 of 35 meters grading 0.97% copper equivalent within 195 meters grading 0.42% copper equivalent. So these are very handsome grades and the kind of things that are making mines these days for copper. And they talk about the highlights. Recent drilling at West Goodspeed continues to confirm the presence of broad zones of copper gold porphyry mineralization with locally higher grade intervals, further supporting the potential for both near surface and deeper higher grade zones. Then they give you a rundown of some of the holes. This one, 22, had 0.81% copper equivalent starting only 21 meters below the surface. 23 graded 0.97% copper from 224 meters within 195 meters, grading 0.42% copper equivalent from 64 meters. Phase 5 drilling at North Island project commenced in August of 2025. So they've just been at it for, a handful of weeks and is anticipated to include continued step-out drilling at West Goodspeed, extensive infill drilling, and testing of regional targets across the property. As of September the 3rd, Northisle has completed a total of 10,000 meters of drilling, 6,903 meters in the West Goodspeed and Red Dog area, and another 2,132 meters across the Cougar, Goodspeed, and Northwest Expo targets, and 1,012 meters within the Red Dog open pit footprint. So then Sam Lee, President and CEO, stated, and I quote, "We continue to be encouraged by the results to date from West Goodspeed. These results continue to demonstrate continuity of good grades and provided us the confidence to step out further to the northwest at West Goodspeed. We have confirmed mineralization over a corridor spanning more than 1,000 meters in strike length, with only 50% of results received from exploration drilling in the West Goodspeed and Red Dog mineralized corridor," end quote. Then they give you a discussion of the drill results. I won't read all that because I encourage you to go read the news release and don't just read the headlines and the quote. Read the entire news release because there's a lot of really good information in here. And so the Northwest Expo, it's way up here. Here are other zones: Goodspeed, HEP, West Goodspeed, Red Dog, Hushamu, Pemberton Hills. Pemberton Hills is a prospect, as is Goodspeed and West Goodspeed, and they're doing some drilling on that. So as you can see, this is the 1,000-meter corridor that's just right there. You take all of this, and you got about a 15,000 meter corridor with deposits on it and potential deposits on it. Here's the West Goodspeed. So now they've zoomed in just to the West Goodspeed. So this hatched black area here is where they did a bunch of the drilling, and they have the red represents holes with mineralized intervals of greater than 10%, or sorry, 0.10% copper or plus 0.1 grams per ton of gold. So they got lots of good stuff there. And it's not very far from the Red Dog deposit, which is their open pit project. Here they give you some more highlights in a cross-sectional view. And again, have a good read of this because they give you a lot of details in the news release. And I encourage you to check over the entire news release. All right, let's go look at their stock. Their stock symbol is NCX on the Venture Exchange. So as you can see, earlier in the year, they had a significant breakout. They had a golden cross right here. And today they were up 15.56% or 21 cents a share. Even since I just did the interview with them, I started following them back here, I think it was. Um, they've had a very good performance. This is about $1.20, and this is $1.56 where they closed at today. So the 50-day moving average is at $1.20, and they closed today at $1.56. So that's the kind of thing that can bring the 50-day moving average up quite nicely. And as you can see, they're trading well above the 200-day moving average. And so the company has a lot of news to report. They just basically started their drill program about a month ago. So lots of drilling, lots of drill results, and I expect a lot of good things out of this company as well. And check out that interview with Sam Lee. Okay, Juggernaut. Juggernaut's not currently a pick, but they will be. They are doing surface sampling this season, and then next season they're in the Golden Triangle. They'll get into drilling. So somewhere between now and the drilling, I'll be making them an official pick. So what did they talk about? Juggernaut samples up to 256 grams per ton of gold or 8.25 ounces per ton and identifies four new gold-rich zones that remain wide open and are drill ready within the Highway of Gold corridor on the Big One property. They talk about announcing that it has identified four distinct, extensive, drill-ready, gold-rich zones that remain wide open, located along the prolific 15-kilometer Highway of Gold corridor within the El Dorado system, including the Gold Dome zone, where gold samples assayed up to 256 grams per ton of gold, the Gold Swarm, where grab samples assayed up to 226 grams per ton of gold, the Big Mac zone, where grab samples assayed up to 111 grams per ton of gold, and the Whopper zone, where grab samples assayed up to 39.84 grams per ton of gold. So they're getting this right out of the vein and they're getting very high grades. The company extended the high grade gold mineralized El Dorado system that hosts the Highway of Gold with 500 widespread mineralized veins covering an area of 9 kilometers squared. So these veins are popping out all over the place. The Big One discovery is located in an area of recent glacial and snowpack abatement adjacent to the world-class gold-rich porphyry systems at Galore Creek. The 100% controlled Big One property covers 37,000 hectares in world-class geological terrain with tremendous additional discovery potential. So, folks, what's really exciting about this is these are the first human beings ever to see those veins and that rock because it was formerly had snowpack and glaciers on it, and now those are receding and exposing this tremendous system. Dan Stewart, who's the president and CEO of Juggernaut, stated, and I quote, the initial results from this year's exploration season on the Big One property with grab assays up to 256 grams per ton of gold or 8.25 ounces per ton from the newly discovered Gold Dome zone clearly demonstrate the high-grade nature of this emerging district-scale gold system. With over 500 widespread veins and shears discovered in a very short period of time, over 15 kilometers, with a vertical relief exceeding 1 kilometer that remains open, shows that the El Dorado system is district scale with tremendous untapped growth potential. The El Dorado gold system and Highway of Gold corridor are showing the right ingredients to quickly become the next big discovery in the Golden Triangle. We look forward to unlocking the full potential of this drill bit this discovery with the drill bit with much anticipation. The entire team believes we are only seeing the tip of the iceberg and the best is yet to come. End quote. And that's not an understatement, folks. When you start seeing veins, that many veins over a large area, and you sample those veins and you get those kind of grades, that is as good as it gets before you start drilling. And I think their drilling is going to get good results. Their chief geologist of Juggernaut is Manuel Lazarotto, also known as Lele. I know Lele because he is one of the key geologists at Goliath, which I follow very closely, as all of you know. He stated, and I quote, I am happy to report on behalf of the entire team that the successful 2025 systematic exploration program was just wrapped up on August the 29th, and all goals have been accomplished on time and on budget. The excellent results with many grab samples with multi-ounce gold assays from four extremely gold-rich, extensive drill-ready zones within the 15-kilometer Highway of Gold corridor, namely the Gold Swarm Zone, Big Mac Zone, Gold Dome Zone, and Whopper Zone, which some say appears to be a lot like the high grade seen at Brucejack, or epithermal porphyry related or related to a magmatic intrusive. It's early days, but these are all possible geological model outcomes. All of this is a clear testament that we appear to have discovered a new gold rich, polymetallic rich district scale system at Big One. Over 500 mineralized veins, many with remarkable gold content, have been confirmed on surface, and we look forward to testing the subsurface with the planned inaugural drill program. The team is eager to start drilling the upcoming fully funded drill campaign designed to test these four extensive zones once all the data collected this season has been received, compiled, and interpreted. End quote. Lele said something in there that really stands out to me when he talks about the look-alike to Brucejack. My long-term viewers and readers will know how Brucejack turned out to be such a great story, as I picked Pretium Resources very early in their success at Brucejack, and ultimately they were bought out for about $19 a share. So it was a big successful pick, and I love hearing those similarities. Let's have a look at their stock chart. JUGR is their symbol. And here you can see that they had a really nice breakout by 24%, or 22 cents a share to $1.12. The company doesn't have a lot of stock out. It's got some real luminaries in mining as key investors. And this is a really exciting project, as you can tell from the results that they talked about. And I'm really looking forward to the drill season that will start up next summer. I just think this is a great project that you want to pay attention to as it evolves, and I think it's going to evolve into a really outstanding project. Okay, next up is Luca Mining. I'm going to speed it up a little bit here, not because I want to, but because the show's getting a little long and I still have several companies to talk about. Luca Mining intersects 14 meters of 7 grams per ton of gold at Tauhuito mine in Durango, Mexico. Highlights include Santiago deposit, 14 meters grading 6.68 grams per ton of gold, and 6 meters grading 9 grams of gold, the first drilling at Santiago since 2008. High grade intercepts up to 23 grams per ton of gold equivalent over 1.9 meters within a broader 5.8 meters zone grading 9 grams per ton of gold equivalent. Underground drilling continues to hit the Creston and Perdido veins in every hole, confirming continuity and expansion potential. New breccia style zones returned 27.1 grams per ton of gold equivalent over zero point 0.4 meters and 13 grams per ton of gold over 1.2 meters north of current workings. This is very interesting because there's still, when you talk about breccia, that is the broken up country rock where quartz makes its way up into that. So you get dilution with the country rock and the quartz. The gold is in the quartz. It's not in the country rock. But when you drill a hole through it, you don't get to take out just the quartz and send that off to the lab. You send the whole thing off. So when I see these kind of grades in a quartz, in a breccia style mineralization, it gets my attention very quickly. Paul Gray, who's the VP of Exploration, stated, and I quote, the Santiago deposit is a gold-rich part of the Tahuito system that has never been mined. These are the first drill results from Santiago in more than 16 years, and they clearly demonstrate the potential for new high-grade resources. Importantly, Santiago trends onto ground we recently acquired, giving us immediate upside in the untested areas. They talk about the underground drilling and they give you the idea of next steps that will mean more drilling. Um, they give you cross sections of where they hit the vein with the high grades in it. Uh, and then they give you the table of results, the locations. Here's their overall land package. And here is a zoom in of this vein corridor here. And these things have a potential to go a lot farther. They're already extending on it. So really good results from Luca. Luca's a recent pick and really happy to have picked them recently. Luca Mining, LUCA is their stock symbol. They were up 3.82% today, or 6 cents a share to $1.63. As you can see, back in about April of 2024, they had a golden cross and they've been performing very well since. I picked it when it was kind of going sideways just recently. I think it was back here somewhere. And I like that it was trading right on that 50-day moving average and looked like it would make a breakout, which it did. Came back to the 50-day moving average, which is trending upwards. And now that they're putting out really good asset results, I think that they're going to have a lot of good news going forward. And I like their potential to go up from here. All right, next up is Aris Mining. Aris had two important news releases. I talked about the one from September 5th on my weekend show, so I encourage you to go listen in to that. Just look in the description and you'll find where I talked about them. And what I talked about was Aris Mining announces steady ramp up at Segovia following second mill commissioning in late June. So this will allow them to increase their throughput by 50%. And this is already a very high margin, free cash flow machine of a project. And so I really like hearing that. But then today they announced that Aris is joining the S&P TSX Composite Index. This is important because when you get into an index, funds have to buy you. And so Neil Woodyer, a very accomplished mining executive, he's the CEO, and he commented, and I quote, "Our inclusion in the S&P TSX Composite Index underscores the strong momentum underway at Aris Mining. The milestone highlights the value we are creating for shareholders and positions us among Canada's most established public companies. With gold production ramping up at Segovia following the commissioning of the second mill and construction advancing at the Marmato bulk mining zone, we remain focused on doubling our annual gold production to more than 500,000 ounces while advancing Soto Norte and Toraporo projects, catalysts that support our longer term growth and our vision to create a leading gold mining company in Latin America." So 500,000 ounces, that's a big number. That moves them up into the mid-tier category. And with Neil Woodyer running the company, he's had a lot of success. And I think Aris Mining is going to be his next big success. All right, let's take a look at their stock chart. ARIS is their stock symbol, just like the name of the company. And today they were up 0.39% to $12.75. I picked them when they were down at their 50-day moving average at around $9.50. So in a very short period of time, they've moved up quite dramatically. This is a really important breakout because one of the reasons that I liked them here was this cup that was forming. And I love, earlier I talked about the importance of when a stock goes above on the right side of the cup, when it goes along up the left side of the cup, and when it goes significantly above that left side peak, it's usually onwards and upwards from there, and that's what's happened. And I think they've got a lot of good news to come out with, and a lot of good performance ahead of them. Sierra Madre is another pick that I made not too long ago, and Sierra Madre announces La Guitarra expansion plans. They give you the details of the planned stage two expansion at La Guitarra Silver Gold Mine Complex located at Estado de Mexico in Mexico. These planned expansions would increase the site's nameplate processing capacity by 50%, dry stack tailings storage facility. They talk about those details. Alex Langer, who's the CEO of the company, he stated, and I quote, "With commercial production achieved at La Guitarra only 9 months ago, we are excited to be planning our next two major milestones, which would drive significant capacity expansion at the site over the next 24 months. Once all production expansions are fully operational, these two-staged expansions would allow us to more than double throughputs from current levels while also driving cost savings from realized economies of scale. Finally, with closing of a 19.5 million private placement in July, we expect to fully self-fund this expansion from our treasury and cash flow." End quote. Greg Liller, who's the COO and executive chairman, added, and I quote, "This staged expansion does not require any additional permits, and we have started sourcing and procurement for the second cone crusher and ball mill, with equipment deliveries expected in November 2025 for the first phase. With a strong operating team at Guitarra, we expect to complete this expansion on time and on budget with a combination of contractors and in-house personnel, and look forward to providing updates as we start receiving equipment and installing components." End quote. So those two quotes give you a good idea of how they're growing the company's production and bringing down the cost. I love seeing that in a junior gold miner. And I think this company has a very bright future. Let's take a look at their stock. SM is their symbol, so it's like the Sierra Madre in their name, and Sierra Madre Gold and Silver. I picked it back here, I think around when they were trading right at their 50-day moving average at about 74 cents. Today they were up 3.88% or 4 cents a share to $1.07. And why I picked them is the growth in production that they have planned and now are executing on, and the pipeline of projects that they have, I think will help them to continue to keep on growing. Another thing that they've done is they're doing very well. I can't remember exactly how much debt they had, but when the new CEO that I quoted earlier took over, I think they had about $25 million in debt. And as they've been mining, they've been able to bring that down to about $8 million. Don't quote me on that because I'm going off my memory. You can find that in their news releases, but it's clear that their free cash flow from their production has enabled them to pay off debt. And I think they're talking about being free of debt within early 2026. So a lot of good things going on for Sierra Madre, and I encourage you to take a look at that company. The next company is Sun Summit. Now I can't remember ever talking about Sun Summit on my reports, but they had a spectacular drill results out today, and I wanted to talk about that. Sun Summit drills 78 meters of 3.72 grams per ton of gold, including 19.1 meters of 7.55 grams of gold at the JD project in the Two Doggone region of British Columbia. This is a spectacular hit in a gold gram meter. That is looking at what 210, about 250 gram meters. Really juicy stuff there. That's at the creek zone that hit that thick intersection. They talk about the highlights and they give you some of the breakdown of the drill hole with the high grade. Well, the thick intersection of high grade, and including in that was even higher grade over substantial intersections as well. Establishes a new zone of high grade and disseminated mineralization. Follow-up drilling planned. Based on the exceptional results from 007 hole, additional step holes are planned for this season to test the down dip and northwest strike extent, so ongoing drilling. Additional assays results are pending. Assay results from the remaining 10 holes are 3,340 meters drilled at Gold Creek at the creek zone are pending. Neil Murata is the CEO, and he stated, and I quote, the first hole of this year's drill program at our JD project in the significant Two Doggone district represents the best hole drilled to date at the creek zone. The hole intersected significant mineralization from 30 meters downhole, so right at the surface. This interval is punctuated with multiple high-grade zones which support high-grade gold potential of the creek zone, typical of many Two Doggone gold deposits. We have planned additional holes to test the strike extent of this new zone of mineralization and are excited to move the drill rig back to the area in the coming weeks. So then they give you the breakdown of the holes. Let me see if they got a plan map. Yeah, they do. Area plan follow-up drilling. So they're going to go right in here. Interesting. It looks like there's a structure coming right through here, and they got gold on this side of the structure and this side of the structure. Interesting stuff. Uh, Here you can see the high grade in the hole, and there's high grade all around it in other holes. and over a pretty broad area. Then they give you an idea what the core looks like, some of the visible gold in the system. VG, like to see that VG. And you can see they're in a really hot area. The This is their creek and fin. They also own this ground. But look at some of this whole thing is just chock a block full because that's a good area to be in. So that's the Sun Summit Minerals news. Let me pick up their their stock. They had a spectacular move on this news today, which was one of the reasons why I picked to talk about them. SMN is their stock symbol. SMN. SMN. And there they are, Sun Summit Minerals. Look at that move today. 71.43%. Oh, wow. That was just a monstrous move. So they really came to life. This trajectory of this 50 days is quite exciting. They're only a few days from a golden cross. I'll be watching closely to see if they can follow this up with some more good results. But this is the exciting stuff of why we invest in junior exploration companies, and they sure delivered with the Truth Machine today. All right, let's see. Pan American Silver reports discovery of multiple high-grade silver zones at La Colorada mine in Zacatecas, Mexico. I live in the state of Zacatecas, so always like to hear about good news. This is a prolific state. It's one of the great states in Mexico. 10% of the silver ever mined worldwide has come from the state of Zacatecas, Mexico. So it's very prolific. Christopher Emerson, who's the senior VP of exploration, stated, and I quote, our exploration efforts have identified high-grade intercepts below and along strike of the known La Colorada vein system east of the defined mineral resource footprint, demonstrating opportunities for further mineral resource expansion. The discovery of a new high-grade replacement style of mineralization and vein style mineralization, particularly in the San Geronimo and Cristina zones in the southeast portion of the property, will be reflected in an update to the estimated mineral resources for the La Colorada mine when the company reports its annual mineral reserves and mineral resources at the end of June. Yeah, it says end of June 30th, 2025, end quote. Uh, I'll have to check with them to see if that's correct. I don't think it is because we're already past June the 30th of 2025. Maybe it's in the works as of then. That sometimes is how companies report that. Let's see here. Okay, so Pan American Silver is my top major silver mining pick. And this is the New York Stock Exchange listing. So this is in US dollars. They were up 3.32% today, or $1.15 to 35.75. I picked them back here when they were right around their 50-day moving average, and they've broken out quite nicely. As you can see, they're trading aggressively above their 50-day moving average. I didn't pick it for the short-term performance. Why I picked it is as silver goes over 40 and towards 50, and then on to new record prices, I wanted my audience to have a pick that is a leveraged way to get into silver's bullish action with not a lot of downside risk. When a company makes the kind of free cash flow and has a cash position like Pan American Silver does, that protects the downside. So it doesn't have a lot of downside risk, but it's a major silver mining company. So as the price of silver goes up, I think you'll see excellent performance out of Pan American Silver. All right, now we got Southern Cross. Didn't I talk about? Yeah, I talked about Southern Cross earlier. Don't need to talk about them again. And the last company today is NOVAGOLD. You've never heard me talk about NOVAGOLD, but they had very good results out. NOVAGOLD's 2025 Donlin Gold drill program returns high-grade gold intercepts, strengthens resource conversion, and supports a bankable feasibility study progression. They talk about exceptional drill results. Drill results confirm consistent mineralization across multiple zones, including standout intervals up to 23.49 grams per ton gold, reinforcing Donlin Gold's position as one of the most significant gold development projects globally. Strategic resource conversion. Following the landmark $1 billion transaction with Paulson Advisors, that's Hank Paulson, the famous investor, the 2025 drill program pivoted to focus on conversion of resources and geotechnical work to support the bankable feasibility study, bringing new scale and momentum to the project. Donlin Gold BFS bids, the request of proposal for the bankable feasibility was issued to top-tier qualified engineering firms, with selection expected in the fourth quarter of 2025. Now, another reason that I wanted to talk about this is when a guy like Hank Paulson, who he has invested in gold and gold stocks in the past, but he took out Barrick Gold's position in this project in a $1 billion transaction. This is kind of a sign that generalists, big investors are getting into the gold space. And to get into a mining company, that's quite an achievement for this company. They give you the details. Um, Greg Lang, who's the president and CEO, stated, and I quote, it is most rewarding to see what we believe are such great returns on our investment to date in the 2025 Donlin Gold drill program. The consistency and strength of the high-grade gold intercepts continue to validate the exceptional quality of this asset. These results not only reinforce Donlin Gold's standing as one of the most responsible and significant development stage gold projects in the world, but also provide critical data needed to advance our geological modeling and engineering work. We look forward to receiving the bankable feasibility study bids from top engineering firms and announcing the selective lead for the BFS work in the coming months, an essential milestone in unlocking the full value of the project for our shareholders and the communities in which we serve. End quote. So they give you some more details. They give you the locations of the drill holes. I'm not going to go into all of that. You can read the news release yourself. But one of the key reasons I wanted to talk about this news is not just the drill results, but that Paulson Advisors is invested. Hank Paulson is a very famous uh, ultra wealthy investor who is bullish on gold and bullish on gold mining. And, this is the big boys, as they say. So let's take a look at NOVAGOLD's stock chart. NG is their stock symbol, and they trade on the Amex. As you can see, they bottomed down here in April at around $2.26, and they closed today at $6.73. They were down only slightly, 0.44% or 3 cents a share to $6.73. I'm not going to make them an official pick. I wanted to talk about them more because I wanted to talk about Hank Paulson getting into the gold mining business by buying out Barrick from this project. Do your homework on the company, but I like what I see, and there you go. That's the show for today. So, as always, do your homework, speak with your financial advisors. I'm only an idea generator. I use my 32 years of experience in the mining business to filter and find good stories for you, but it's always your responsibility to talk to your financial advisors about your risk profile and do that homework. And that's true whether you're looking at mining stocks or any kind of stocks. Understand the companies and the industries you're in. That makes you a better investor because you're not just looking at a stock action which can be emotional. You're looking at things from a fundamental basis, and you can use the stock performance as well as a timing thing, which is how I look at technical analysis. But it's that company, what they're doing to grow the company, that's important. And the better you know that, the better you'll be as an investor. All right, that's my show for today. Have a great day. We'll talk to you soon.